Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I'll be covering what you need to know about using free VPNs in China. What might work, what probably won't, and ultimately what your better options are if you want a more stable connection. I'll also leave links to pricing and discounts, as well as full reviews to all the VPNs I talk about in the description down below if you want to check them out. So if you're hoping to stay connected while traveling or living in China, you've probably already looked into using a VPN. And the idea of using a free one can definitely be appealing, especially if you just need it for messaging, maps, or quick access to blocked sites like Google or WhatsApp. But the reality is, China's internet is one of the most restricted in the world. Behind it all is what's known as the Great Firewall, a system that doesn't just block websites, but actively hunts down and disables the tools that help bypass those blocks. And this makes things especially tough for free VPNs, because they typically don't have the resources or technology needed to keep up with how the firewall works today. So in this video, I'll walk you through exactly what's going on behind the scenes with China's internet, how a few free VPNs try to get around it, and why most of them struggle, plus the 2 paid VPNs that still manage to work reliably as of 2025. Now, while some free VPNs do technically work in China, it's more accurate to say they might work, because even under the best conditions, you're looking at limited bandwidth, frequent disconnects, and performance that varies a lot depending on which mobile provider you're using.
Take Windscribe, for example. On paper, it's one of the more capable free VPNs. You get about 10 gigs a month and servers in a handful of countries, including Hong Kong. And there are advanced options like stealth or WS tunnel mode that can help mask your VPN traffic, especially if you set it to port 443. But even with those settings dialed in, it's hit or miss. Server congestion is still a major issue, and if you're on China Mobile or China Unicom, the connection often won't work at all. Then there's Let's VPN, which is a little harder to pin down. It's been known to work for basic mobile use, especially on iPhones. It even supports Chinese payment methods like Alipay, but there's little documentation, setup is mostly manual, and server reliability is all over the place. So while you might get it to work for messaging or browsing, it's not something you'd want to rely on for privacy or streaming. And that's really the core issue with free VPNs in China. They're not built for this kind of environment. Most of them use outdated obfuscation, have tiny server networks, and throttle your connection once you hit a certain data limit. At best, they're a temporary solution. At worst, they just won't connect at all. So if you're only using a VPN to check your email once or twice, a free option might get the job done. But if you need anything more than that, especially over a longer trip, you'll probably want something more reliable. And that's what I'll go over next. Okay, so for anyone who needs a VPN that actually works day to day in China, Surfshark is going to be your best bet right now. What makes Surfshark stand out here is how well it adapts to China's internet environment. It's fast, stable, and includes a feature called No Borders mode, which is specifically designed for use in heavily restricted countries. It detects when you're in a censorship-heavy network, like the ones used by China Mobile or China Telecom, and automatically switches on the settings you need to stay connected. Recent user tests show that Surfshark connects quickly, especially on mobile, and works reliably on both China Mobile and China Telecom. The US server is the fastest and most stable. Even on mobile, the performance is solid, and it's one of the rare options that supports unlimited devices, which is a huge plus if you're switching between your phone, laptop, and tablet. Just make sure to install everything before arriving in China, since app stores and VPN websites are usually blocked once you're inside the country. And for iPhone users, you'll want to set up a non-China Apple ID, like a US one, to get the app. This step is crucial, since many VPN apps, including Surfshark, are invisible on the Chinese App Store. Now, Proton VPN technically falls into the free VPN category, and that's part of what makes it appealing, especially if you're just testing the waters. But for China specifically, I'd really only recommend the paid version. The free tier gives you unlimited data, which is rare, but it limits you to a small handful of servers, none of which are optimized for getting around censorship. So even though the app works, you're likely to run into slow speeds, long connection times, and unreliable performance, especially during peak hours or if you're trying to use it for anything beyond basic browsing. With the paid plan, you get access to stealth protocols, higher speed servers, and better support across Android, iOS, and desktop. Android setup is the easiest, it's mostly just a few taps, but on Windows it's a bit more involved since you'll need to use OpenVPN manually. iPhone users will also need a non-China ID, just like with Surfshark. That said, even the paid version of Proton VPN can be inconsistent. Some servers connect quickly, others don't connect at all. It tends to work better with China Mobile than China Telecom, and while general browsing is okay, streaming or downloading large files can be hit or miss. So Proton VPN does offer a good balance of privacy and performance if you go with the paid version, but it's still best as a secondary option, either as a backup to Surfshark or if you're comfortable doing a bit more of the setup on your own. So just to recap, if you're trying to access the internet from inside China, free VPNs can work occasionally, but they're really not something you can rely on. Between limited server access, slow speeds, and constant blocks from the Great Firewall, they're more of a short-term workaround than a real solution. That's why for anyone staying longer than a couple days or needing a stable connection for work, travel, or just keeping in touch, I'd strongly recommend going with Surfshark as your main VPN. It's one of the few that still holds up well in China, especially if you're using China Telecom. And if you want a secondary option or something with a little more of a privacy focus, Proton VPN paid version is a great backup to have on hand. Now, as always, I've included links down in the description to any current discounts or coupon codes, so feel free to check those out if you'd like to get the best deals. And hopefully you found this helpful. If so, please leave a thumbs up, as I always appreciate that. And if you've got any questions or need help with setup, just drop a comment below. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.